Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome back to another Sims 4 speedbuilding video, or welcome to the channel if you are new here. So in today's video I'm going to be building in the world of Newcrest, which is one of the base game worlds. I'm going to be building a huge family home using custom content. So this house is built on a 40 by 30 lot and it ends up having 5 bedrooms and 6 bathrooms. Now, like I just mentioned, I'm building using CC, which is always so much fun. It's been a while since I've done my last CC build, which I believe was the Parisian apartments with a patisserie and cafe. Now, I've said this before in previous CC videos, but I love doing CC. And I love doing CC. I love doing CC builds, but I always like to space them out because I understand that not everyone can download custom content. Some people like to play the game completely vanilla, and so I like to space out how often I do CC builds. But when it is around about time to sit down and do one, it is always just, it's so fun, like it's so enjoyable. You feel like you're playing with a completely brand new game because where custom content, it gives you so many more options. I feel like I'm playing The Sims 5 whenever I build custom content, and it was so much fun doing this house, and so I really hope that you're going to like it. But getting on and talking a little bit more about this house. So this house was built based off a picture. I'll find the picture and I'll pop it up on the screen now so you can have a little look. But I basically just wanted to build something massive using custom content because my CC folder it keeps on growing. This is a thing as well, and I've said this before to people, I can't just download one piece of CC. I have to like assign myself an afternoon, or maybe even sometimes a day. Maybe I'll choose like a Saturday or Sunday. I'll sit down with a cup of tea and I'll just browse through Tumblr, through people's Patrons. I will just have the time of my life downloading CC, and sometimes I never know when is enough. And so the folder that I've got of CC is quite big, and naturally I wanted to use pretty much all of it. And so don't worry, by the way, I will be linking absolutely everything. So if you do want to download this house, you can go onto a Google Doc link and then you can pick and choose, or you can download it all. It's completely up to you. And I've been thinking I might make it a bit easier because I know that sometimes when you want to download CC from someone's video, you might get a bit confused. Maybe this is a me thing, but I can't remember what I've got in my game. I couldn't even tell you the amount of times that I've got the same sets from the same creators, and I just re-download them just in case that I haven't previously downloaded them because I'm never sure. And so what I think I might do for this video is, if you've seen that previous video, the Parisian apartments, I use CC in that, and I also had a Google Doc link for that video. What I might do for this one is also create another Google Doc link, but then I might have like a little colour system. And so if I've used the CC that I'd previously used in that video and you've downloaded it, I'll like highlight it in like blue or pink or something. So then if you had previously downloaded it and you're not sure if you've already got it in your game, it's just kind of like a bit like a key system. I feel like that'll be easier, and I have used quite a lot of the same content in this one as the previous one, but then I've also mixed it with newer custom content that has since come out since I last did my last one. Like for example, one thing that I'm so excited for is in this build, the kitchen. You know when you go into like someone's really fancy kitchen and they have like a top oven and a bottom oven, where it's like 2 ovens on top of each other? Hey Harry, a custom content creator, has recently come out with that in custom content, so we can have that in The Sims 4 now. Now the last time I did my CC build, that wasn't available. I've then also used like windows from Charlie Pancakes, which weren't available when I last did my CC build, and it's just, I will link absolutely everything. I will make it as easy as I can possible. It will be colour coordinated, it will be very organised. So if you want to download the CC and you want to have all the CC in your game, then you can do. And also, I don't think I use that many packs as well in this build, like actual paid DLC packs. Off the top of my head, I know that I used Cottage Living because I used like a window or something like that. And so the handful of packs that I've used that are actual paid DLC within the game are very minimal. And so again, what I did for my last video is in the description box, I will link the expansion packs and the game packs and, you know, all the different paid DLC that I have used, but I'll tell you the amount of items that I've used, because say for instance I used, I don't know, vampires in this build, but I might have only used like a plant, or I say a plant, I don't think we have a plant for vampires, but you know, you get what I mean. I will individually tell you how many items, just in case you're put off by the amount of like DLCs that I've used. Sometimes it will just be the case of like I might use a plant from it, or I might use a window. It won't be anything too dramatic that will change the build overall. But anyway, getting on and talking about the build. So as you can see, I have now basically done the whole structure of the build. I'm going around and placing down the windows and some individual shutters as well, because this is the thing, I keep on saying how personalised you can make custom content builds. You can really make it your own and really get into the nitty-gritty details. You might want to have shutters that are blue and windows that are, I don't know, grey or black or brown. With CC creators, they normally would tend to create individual shutters themselves instead of having the shutters attached to the window. So sometimes you can see, for instance, in this house, at the front of it, some of the windows have shutters on, and then some of the same windows, I decided, you know what, I don't want to have shutters on them because I feel like it don't mix. But sometimes when you're playing it with just the stuff from the paid DLC, stuff from the expansion packs, from the game packs and whatnot, I might want to have a house that's got shutters, but the ones that you've got in the game, because I feel like we've only got a handful. I know we've got some from base game, and I think a few from Discover University, and maybe like 1 or 2 from the Get Together expansion pack. But sometimes them windows, I don't want to use them windows, I just want to use the shutters. And so it is just so smart that CC creators, instead of having windows with the shutters, they're just individual, so then you can pick and choose, and that way as well you can use windows from one creator and then shutters from another. I actually use a mixture of 2 different shutters in this build. So at the front of the house, you know the big ones that I've used, they are from the organic set from Hey Harry and Felix Andre, and then the tiny little skinny like slim ones are from Felix Andre themselves. And I get to like pick and choose the colours, so some of them have like a different colour swatch to kind of, it went with the house, and it is just so much more customizable. Also, the windows, if you are curious, I use a mixture of windows from the organic set, which are from, again, Hey Harriet and Felix Andre. They're the ones that have got, you know, a bit of a curve at the top. Instead of at the top of the window it being completely straight, they kind of like curve around a bit. Then ones are from the organic set, and then the ones that have got a bit of brown in, you would have seen I placed them down at the front of the build. Then ones are from Felix Andre, and then I use another window which is from Charlie Pancakes, or I say a window, I actually use quite a few windows from Charlie Pancakes because they have recently come out with this set, and you know sometimes you want to have like an open window, but we don't really have any in the game, and the ones that we do have in the game are more from like the Jungle Adventure game pack, and they're ones that probably won't fit into a suburban family home in like Newcrest or something. Well, Charlie Pancakes has created these windows, and there is so many options. Honestly, I was shocked at the amount of customization she has given it with these windows, because some of them are open, some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller, and then all the different shapes and sizes, they come in variations. And so they're the square windows that I've used as well. But now, as you can see, I've just placed down some terrain paint, pointing it out because I'm so excited about it. I have custom terrain paint now in my game, which is something that I was so excited to find. Again, of course, it's going to be linked in the Google Doc. The creator of the terrain paint is called Ciboulette. I really hope that I'm pronouncing that correctly, but I found their website and I had so much fun. You know, sometimes when you go onto CC websites or just like a web page and you're basically like shopping in real life, like they have got such an organised website. They've got categories for build, and they've got a separate column for literal columns, and ones for fences, and ones for windows, and then they've got ones for furniture, and you can really just go in and filter by what you want to find. Or if you want, you could just download it all because it's all so good. But I did use some of their fences in this build as well. So you see the white fence that is right by the red car, that little fence is by the same creator, and then they also have a gate to go along with it. But then alongside that, you see the fence that wraps around the back garden, that's from a different creator. That's from Little Deca, I think, and it's from their countryside cabin kit. Now, I was so in the market to find a high tall custom content fence, because the fences and the gates that we have in The Sims 4 itself without any custom content, the ones that have got a bit of height to them, we ain't really got that many. We've got 2 from base game, which are basically the exact same one, just one's a little bit more like weathered down, and then we've got like one from a Snowy Escape, and then I think we've got one from the patio kit, or like the patio stuff pack. But in terms of having gates that you can put in a back garden that actually give your Sims a little bit of privacy, we really don't have that many. And so I was so happy to be able to find this fence and the matching gate as well. And the thing is, they come in so many lovely swatches, and the fence itself is so detailed. It's got this beautiful kind of like crisscross pattern on it, and it's just absolutely chef's kiss. But yeah, anyway, getting on from that and actually finally getting on and talking a little bit more about this build. So like I've already said, it's got 5 bedrooms and 6 bathrooms. Now, I did have a storyline in mind when I was building this house, even though it's not going to be for my save file, and it's not going to, it was just kind of like a storyline that I was running off that helped me furnish the inside of this house, and I really like the storyline that I come up with, but I'll talk about that in just a second. I do just want to talk a little bit more about the house itself. So with the 5 bedrooms, I decorated them to be for a set of parents, one for a teenager, one for a toddler, one for a child, and then one for a live-in nanny, or a butler or a grandma, but for the storyline that I imagined, I was thinking more personally like a live-in nanny. And then there is also a massive walk-in wardrobe in this build as well. So Charlie Pancakes, who is the person that created them square windows that I was talking about, they have created this kind of like custom walk-in wardrobe set, and it is amazing. Like, I literally lost for words for it because it is just so clever and it's so well done, and the meshes of all the individual items that have come in this set. I think the set itself is called Lavish. Basically, you know, with Dream Home Decorator, the game pack, you can create your own wardrobes. They basically did that, but with CC, and they've got so many more individual like hung clothes. So with the ones that we've got from the Dream Home Decorator game pack, it's kind of like locked in clothes. There's like a bunch of them all locked in together, but sometimes you just want to customize it a bit. And so Charlie has created individual dresses, individual coats, individual shoes, and it is so lovely. So there is a walk-in wardrobe in this house. I really wanted to make use of it, but then there is also 2 living rooms. One of them is a little bit more of a fancy sitting, kind of like formal situation sitting rooms. In there's no TV, it's purely just sofas and fireplace and, you know, like loads of different plants and decorations, and it's a little bit more of a formal seating area for it kind of goes along with the storyline, so I'll tell you the storyline in a second. And then there is also more of a casual one for like more family time. In there's a TV, and then it's next to the kitchen, which is next to the dining room. The way that I basically did the floor plan for the house, when you come in through the front door, on the right hand side, it's more of the kind of like work related area of the house. So you have the formal sitting room, and then you also have a home office as well, because there is a little study in this house. And then yeah, that is basically it in terms of what there is on the inside of the house, as well as like the bedrooms and then the stuff like the kitchen and the bathrooms. There's also a utility room or like a little laundry room, which I normally do laundry rooms in my houses anyway, but this one, where I was using custom content, it is so much more detailed. It's so much more looking like an actual laundry room. So in there, like, I've got an individual placed iron, which I can't believe I'm getting excited about an iron, but there's stuff like individual placed irons, there's stuff like little baskets for folded clothes, and there's individual folded clothes, and it's just, the whole entire house was so fun. But anyway, getting on and actually talking about the storyline for Sims that could possibly live in this house. Now, again, I say this with pretty much all of my videos where I have a storyline for Sims for houses. You don't have to stick to it. It's just the idea that I had when I was building, and it's just kind of like the idea that I was kind of like fueling myself off, and the idea that I was furnishing this house too. You can have any kind of Sims that you want living in here. It was just the idea that I had. You don't have to stick to it. But the household in this family consists of 2 parents, 3 kids, and 1 living nanny. Now, I was thinking that one of the parents is going to be running for mayor of Newcrest, Willow Creek kind of area, because in my head, Willow Creek and Newcrest, they're basically the same world. They're the same kind of terrain, they're the same kind of landscapes, and to me, they're pretty much next door neighbours. And so I imagine that one parent in this household is currently running to be the mayor for them. Now, I was imagining that this Sim doesn't spend any time whatsoever with their family. I imagine that their work and their job just kind of consumes their whole entire life, and any minute that they're awake, they're either working, they're campaigning, they're making strategies for different ways to like pull people in to get them to vote for them. They never really get to spend time with their family. I feel like if you was to play with this household, 9 times out of 10 you can find them either in the fancy living room with clients having business meetings, or they're going to be in their home office, you know, researching different strategies and trying to look at all the individual information about how their campaign's going. You know, I imagine, you know, basically you watch so many films where you've got one parent in like a film or a TV show, and they always miss like their daughter's dance rehearsals, or they're never around for like their monumental moments in their family's life. I imagine this Sim is like that. They're just so consumed by their work that they don't really get to spend time with their family, and it's starting to take a toll on them, but I'll expand on that in a second. But moving on and talking about the second parent. Now, I was imagining that the second parent works quite high up in the hospital. Now, with the Sims 4 Get to Work expansion pack, we've got the ability to send our Sims to work, and we can actually go with them, and they can either be in the hospital, in the police department, or they can be a scientist. I was thinking that this Sim is really high up in the hospital career. I was thinking maybe like they're a surgeon or something, but again, I was thinking that they're a massive workaholic. So you've got 2 parents so far that are just so consumed with their work, they don't really get to spend any time at home, they don't really get to spend any time with their family. Now, I was thinking that the times for the parent that is in the hospital career, I imagine that they get really odd hours. I was thinking back to, you know, Grey's Anatomy, right, no one spoil it for me because I'm really early on, but with Grey's Anatomy, I feel like they get really odd hours, like they get assigned some really bizarre hours. I was thinking it's the same for this Sim. Now, I was thinking because of that they don't actually live here full time. I was thinking that they've got a separate place somewhere else in the city. I was thinking they've got like a penthouse or an apartment or something in the world of San Myshuno. Now, I wasn't thinking that they stay there full time. I was more so thinking that this sim, it stays in the apartment when they've got work coming up. So instead of having to commute into the city, instead of having to rely on public transport or driving into the city of San Myshuno, they probably just thought, why not just stay in an apartment? That way, if I'm on an emergency call or if anyone needs me, I can be there within a matter of minutes. And so I imagine that they don't stay there full time, but they stay there the majority of the week. And I imagine it probably works out really badly, because with the children of this household, they of course have school, they have after school activities, they've got all this stuff going on. So they don't really ever get to see their children, because they're just so devoted to their work, they don't really get time to do it. And so it's starting to take a toll on the whole entire family, because one parent is a politician that's always home, but you can never find him. And when you can find them, they tell you that they'll talk to you later because they're busy. And then the other parent, half the time, isn't even here. I was thinking, how did these Sims meet? I was thinking, in some films or some TV shows, someone will like do something ridiculous and like break their arm in some silly way. I imagine that the sim that wants to be the politician, or the sim that is the politician that wants to be the mayor, I imagine that they probably like broke their arm or something, and then they went to the hospital and then met the surgeon, and then they fell in love, they had some children, and that was kind of like their backstory. Also, actually, to add on that part, I was also thinking that they're quite different from one another. For some reason, I just felt like they were complete polar opposites. They both were they didn't really have children and getting married on the cards, and they just kind of saw themselves as succeeding in their careers and then just doing that, and they wasn't really focused on having a family and bringing up children, getting a dog and stuff like that. They just wanted to focus on their careers and succeed in them. But I imagine that they probably met at the hospital. One of the Sims did something ridiculous, they probably bonded over it, and then they just decided, do you know what, I'm just gonna see how it goes. And they did, and now they're married, and now they've got 3 children. But moving on and actually talking about the children, so starting off with the teenager. Now, I was thinking, personality-wise, the teenager is identical to the parent that wants to be the mayor of Newcrest. And when I say that, I mean that they've got the same personality, they've got the same work ethic, they've got the same ambition, and they've kind of got the similar-ish kind of goals. I imagine that the teenager really looks up to their parent and kind of aspires to be like them one day. But when I was decorating their bedroom, I was trying to picture what they look like, and I couldn't get the thought out of my head. City Living, the expansion pack, there is this one dress. This is what a very particular thing to point out, but for some reason it was sticking out of my head. The City Living expansion pack, there is this one plain black dress, and it's kind of got these nice little cuff sleeves. I was imagining that this sim would kind of wear that kind of thing. They would always have some really nice pearls around their neck. They're very well kept, they're quite high maintenance, they're probably always going and getting their nails done. They always like to keep up their appearance. They're just like that. That's just the kind of sim that they are. Now, I imagine that they're a straight A student, very good in school, but I imagine that when they're not doing straight A's and they're not doing all their after school activities, they're probably going to be helping out their parent campaign to be a mayor. Pretty Little Liars, if you've seen it, Spencer Hastings. Basically, I was thinking that this sim was pretty much a sim version of Spencer Hastings. I was thinking that they'd probably be like the president of their school. There would have been so many different after school activities like chess club and maybe like the school newspaper and maybe even some of like the sporting after school activities. Just overall, they're just a very busy sim. They've got a lot on their plate, long story short. But I also imagine that they aspire to one day go to the University of Rochester. Now, I was thinking that maybe one of their previous family members went, maybe like their grandfather or their grandma, or maybe even one of their parents went to the University of Rochester, possibly both of them, but maybe they didn't meet and they met later on in life. I was thinking though that they have this ambition and their dream is to go to this university, but I feel like they probably know that they're going to get in anyway, just because where both of their parents have just such high profile jobs and they're just so well respected within this world, they probably know that they could probably not even try on their application and get in, which can probably be a bit tolling on them because they're putting in all this hard work, and I reckon probably like their mates or their partner probably tells them like, why are you even bothering? You can get in anyway just because who you are in terms of like the hierarchy of the world. But yeah, that was the idea that I had for the teenager. Now moving on and talking about the storyline for the child. By the way, I'm very much well aware that I've now moved on inside this house, so I'm going to try and keep the rest of the storyline quite quite short, and then I'll expand on them when I go into the separate bedrooms. But moving on for the child, I imagine that the child is very popular, again, with after school activities. This whole entire family is just very successful in after school curriculums, that is their kind of thing. I was imagining that the child could be in like ballet or like dance practice or something like that, but I don't think that they really know their parents or have much of a relationship with them, because where they're both so high profiled in their jobs and just so devoted to their career, they don't really get to spend much time with them. I imagine that the teenager has probably got a little bit more of a closer relationship to the parents than what the child and the toddler have, just because they've been around for a bit longer, and they probably wasn't in this position a few years back when they were, when the teenager was around, like when they were just born. The parents were probably a little bit more active within their life, whereas as they've kind of had more children, they've got more successful within their careers, they've kind of not spent as much time with the child and the toddler of this household. Now, in terms of the toddler, I say this quite often, I find it really difficult to give toddlers storylines and backstories because they haven't really got much depth to them. All I just was thinking is, the same for the child, they don't really know their parents that much, and they kind of favour their nanny more than their parents, because the nanny is the sim that spends the most time with them. But moving on, and speaking about the storyline for the nanny. So, I think it's pronounced en pair in real life, where basically you can travel to a different location and you can basically be a nanny for like a host family, and you can take care of their children, like keep the general upkeep for their house. I feel like a lot of people know what an en pair is. Well, I was thinking if we had it in Sims terms, the nanny would basically be one. Now, I was thinking that this sim has been around pretty much since the child was born. I was thinking that in the first few months that the child of this household was around, the parents tried to raise them and tried to, keep up with them, but as well as maintaining their career. And they just found that it was so difficult, and they forgot how time consuming and how much time you need to dedicate to raising a tiny human. And so after a few months, they probably hired this nanny to come and live in them, and they now live in this house full time. Now, I was imagining that they just do the general upkeep for the house. They do a bit and bob here and there. They don't do everything, because I imagine that this family have probably got a maid service, they've probably got a gardener, they might often have like chefs come in and stuff like that, but they do, the light housework. So they might do a little bit of dusting, they might do the laundry once in a blue moon, stuff like that. But overall, they're kind of like the caregiver for the children of the household. They make their packed lunches, they take them to school. If there's like a school dance, say if the child's doing like a ballet performance or something, instead of the parents going and seeing the ballet performance, it will be the nanny. So the nanny's got this really tight bond with both the child and then the toddler. They probably get on all right with the teenager. I was thinking that the teenager is more like their friend rather than, like someone that they have to care for. Where the teenager was kind of raised by their parents, they don't really need to be helped by the nanny. I imagine that they're probably just more so mates than more so the nanny being a caregiver. They're probably quite close in age. I was thinking that they're probably like 5-6 years different, something like that. Maybe the nanny's in like their early 20s, and they kind of see the teenager more so as like one of their best mates rather than someone that they got to take care of. But despite this household having like a maid and gardener service and chefs and whatnot, I imagine that the nanny also does do some like home cooking every once in a while, often probably gets all the kids involved and does some like home baking, probably does like lots of arts and craft, often takes the kids to like the park every single day after school and just stuff like that. I imagine that this nanny is so hands-on that they've now just become a part of this household. I imagine that they probably came from quite a low income household as well. I was thinking that maybe they come from Evergreen Harbour, or maybe like the trailer park where Johnny Zest lives, in the trailers. I imagine that they probably came from somewhere that didn't have as much as a high income as what this family does, and so this family have kind of taken them on, and they are now a member of the family. They're not really seen to be a nanny, they're just basically everyone's big sister. And that is just kind of the idea that I had for this whole entire household, which I really like this idea. But anyway, moving on and getting on and talking about what I'm doing right now, because as you can see, and as I've already said, I've already now moved on into the inside of this house. Now, you've already seen me furnish the entrance hallway, you've already seen me do the dining room, and now you can see that I'm just going around and finishing up the kitchen. I am so happy with the way this kitchen turned out. Can we just take a minute to appreciate the built-in ovens, the built-in coffee machine, and also the little built-in compartment for the microwave. It is just, this whole entire kitchen is just chef's kiss. So the counters, and then the built-in oven, and then coffee machine, and then also the stove top on top of the counter, they are from Hey Harry, and I don't know what collaboration it was. I think it was the Octave one. it will be in the Google Docs so you can download it, but it is just so well done. It is so beautiful as well, and it's actually going to be quite hard for me now in the future for when I do more CC builds not to always go for this kitchen set, because it's so cool. Like, we've never had anything like this in The Sims 4 before. And the coffee machine as well. I didn't expect the coffee machine. I was just expecting the ovens, which, by the way, one of the ovens, I didn't use them, but there is a decorative oven as well. So the way that Harry has designed them is there's a top oven, there's a bottom oven, and then there's some decorative versions of them as well. So if you just want to have them as a bit of decoration rather than your Sims actually using them, you can do. Now, the fridge is from a different set. I believe the fridge is still from Hey Harry, but it's not from that same set. It's from one of their other sets. And then the microwave, which is in the little built-in compartment, again, that is from Hey Harry and Felix Andre's collaboration, their kitchen collaboration, but it suited it so perfectly, and I'm just so happy with the way that the kitchen turned out. Also, can we take a moment to appreciate the floor in this house, which was something that I was so excited for, because I was really in the market and really looking for this kind of floorboard that is CC, and the one that I've used, I believe, again, is from Harry. It is just so well detailed. It comes in so many beautiful colours, and I'm just so happy with it overall. But now, as you can see, I've moved on. I've started doing the more family relaxed room. So this is the living room, which I imagine that the nanny and the children and the toddler and possibly even the teenager spend their time in. So instead of being in the other one, you'll find them in here. Maybe the nanny's made like a fresh batch of popcorn, they're putting on a film, they're all relaxing on the sofa. This is more of the relaxed little like sofa lounge room. In here, I decided to use these sofas, which are from Peacemaker, and then I got these individual cushions, which I believe are from the organic set. Again, I've used that set quite a few times in this build, but then I individually placed these pillows onto the armchairs and the sofas, and then the picture, which is above the fireplace, it's not a picture, it's a TV. I've used this TV so many different times in my previous CC builds, and every single time, whenever it comes to doing a living room space or a lounge space or anywhere that kind of requires a TV, why not just use this one? Because it is so clever, it is so well done. Pretty sure it's based off a TV that you can buy now from like Sony, or I think it was like Samsung or something, but it's basically a TV. It works the exact same way as the normal TVs in the game. Your Sims can, you know, watch the news on it, they can watch a film, they can do everything that they can do on a normal TV, but on that TV. But the only difference is when this TV is turned off, it looks like a picture, and it's just so much more appealing to the eye. It looks so much nicer, because sometimes in real life as well, not only in the game, when the TV's off, it's just this big blank screen. It's like there's not really much going on. It looks a little bit boring, a little bit like it's not very interesting to look at. And so it's so clever that Felix Andre and Hey Harry did a TV that basically looks like a painting. And thing is as well, there's so many different swatches as well, and I'm obsessed with that TV. But anyway, as you can see, I just did another little room which is kind of off the lounge space, which ends up being kind of like a little bit of a home library, but then it's also got a piano in it, which doesn't actually make much sense, because imagine if you're trying to sit down and study and someone's trying to play the piano next to you. It's probably not going to be the best space, but I really wanted to use that little piano in there, and I just kind of wanted this house to be filled with as many activities as I could possible. Which actually, that reminds me, I forgot to mention it in the back garden, because I was just talking about the storyline for this household. I don't know if you noticed it, but in the back garden there is a kid's slide, like a kid's climbing frame. It is so amazing. I believe the one that I've used is from Ravishing, which Ravishing is very quickly becoming one of my favourite CC creators, one of my favourite modders out there, because what they do is honestly just amazing. There's so many mods that I've got in my game because of them. And again, like I was saying, for other people, like their website is basically like a shopping list. Like you can just spend hours and you can just download absolutely everything. But yeah, I was really happy to be able to use that little playground in the back garden, because it personalises the build a little bit more, and I have never used it before in a previous build. But anyway, as you can see, I've now moved on and I've started furnishing the first bedroom. So this is going to be the bedroom for the live-in nanny. Not gonna lie, there's not too much going on in this room, just because I didn't imagine that the nanny would spend too much time in here. I was thinking that their days are just filled with arts and crafts and baking and taking the kids to all these different after-school activities, or taking them out for the day, going to the park or going to theme park. You know, I don't imagine that they actually spend too much time in that room themselves. They don't have a computer or a laptop, but I imagine that they probably got one in their pockets. You know, with laptops you can just put them into your Sims inventory. I imagine that they've probably got one of them. But in terms of things to do in their bedroom, it was quite a just, you can make it into a guest bedroom if you want to. If you don't want to go along with the storyline with having a living nanny, you could 100% just make it into like a guest bedroom, or maybe a butler's bedroom if you prefer to have a butler in the household. To be honest, it's completely up to you what you do with the house, which download it off the gallery if you do decide to anyway. But now, as you can see, I've now moved on into the next room, which is the laundry room. Now, I wasn't going to show this just because the video is quite long. Like, it's 51 minutes without the screenshots. I have no idea, by the way, how long this video is going to be once I add the screenshots. I've already taken them. I spent so much time taking these screenshots and I'm so happy with them, but I've got 113 of them, so I don't know what it's going to be with the screenshots added. But where the video was so long, I was thinking, oh, I'll just cut out the laundry room and I'll cut out all the bathrooms apart from one, which, to be honest, I normally do anyway. But with the laundry room, I got to use things like I said, like the individual iron. I got to use all these different bits and pieces, like literal boxes of like washing powder and little linen baskets of like laundry sheets and stuff like that. And so I thought, I just wanted to show it. So yeah, that is the little laundry room in there, which also doubles up to be the little toilet space. But now you can see that I've moved on into the next room, which is the home office. Not gonna lie, quite small for a home office, especially for a house of this size. But I didn't want to make the room that ended up being the nanny's room into a home office because I felt like the location of it in the floor plan was a bit weird. And you know how I said, like, your Sims can walk into this house and then the right hand side is kind of like the workspace for the parent. I didn't want to have the formal living room on the other side of the house to where their home office is, because what about if they're in a meeting and they need to show some pie charts or some sort of graphs of like all these different analytics that they've been looking at. They don't want to walk through the whole entire house, so it was kind of, I felt like it was necessary to have the home office here, but it did end up being quite a small little space. But you know what, I made it work. In here you can see that there's a fireplace. There is also some cabinets behind the little desk situation. Currently I'm just cluttering up this desk, which, by the way, I do want to mention what I'm doing here because I've had quite a lot of comments recently about this, and I have mentioned it before in previous videos, but just in case you haven't seen any of my videos before, basically the way that I like to clutter up is, I like there to be a lot of clutter, long story short, but a lot of the objects that we have in the game, both with stuff that is from like paid DLCs and stuff that comes with custom content, you'll notice that things will slot to things. So you see now, as I'm placing things on top of this little bookcase, it kind of slots to the height of the bookcase, and then I'm moving it away. Basically, the reason why I'm doing this is because I want to get them clutter pieces to the height of the bookcase, and then if I move it away, the clutter will stay to the height of it, and then I can like kind of freely place the clutter. Because if I wanted to clutter up this bookcase, for example, and I wanted to put something in a certain position at a certain angle, some of the auto placement slots aren't making it possible. And so if you just move something to a height of the object and then take it away from the object, the clutter will stick to the height of it, and then that way you can put the clutter basically in the air, in the placement of where whatever surface you're cluttering up is. And then once you move the object back in, let's say for instance that one was a bookcase, once I moved it back in, all the clutter was already to the particular height. Because sometimes if you use move objects and you try and do the 9 key, sometimes things can be floating, and you know, then you have to play about the tool mod and you have to elevate it, and you know, it's just a quick little workaround basically is what I'm doing. But I do it in pretty much every, I say pretty much, I do it in every single video, and I haven't explained it in a while, so yeah, I thought I'd explain it now. But also, actually, that reminds me, the red shelf as well. So the red shelf is also a method of cluttering up things. But you know how I was saying when I move things to a surface to get them to the height of it and then I move them away, this little red shelf that you can see me use now, sometimes objects won't clip to a surface, like there's just no slot for them. Maybe they're too big, or the game just doesn't recognise it's an object and it doesn't want to click to it. And so with things like that, or with things like how, say for instance again, I've sized down this fireplace because the fireplace that I wanted to go into this little like hallway situation was a little bit too big. It was clipping into the wall. So what I did is I sized it down using the tool mod, but then if I was to size down any surface in the game, the auto placement slots for clutter like plants or photo frames would go to the original height of the object. So then with that red shelf, that's when that comes in handy, because then with the red shelf you can get it to the exact height of now the sized down object, and then it's the same kind of process. You move clutter onto the red shelf and then you can move it away and then put it into the placement that you want the surface to be, and then that way you can cluster things up as much as you want. And it's honestly, both of their methods are super handy. The red shelf I use in every single video. It's a bit of CC, but you don't have to have CC to download this. Actually, no, you do have to have CC for this build, but for the builds that I use it in that aren't CC, you don't need it to. As long as it's not in the build when you upload it to the gallery, your build won't be classed as CC. It's just something that helps you get something to a certain height. It's just super handy. But anyway, as you can see, I've now moved on into the next room, which is the formal living room. So the little hallway that you would have seen me do was basically like an entrance hallway into this formal space. But quickly, I do want to mention, you know the home office that I just did? I don't know if you noticed it, but there was a fan on the floor. The fan moves, so you can actually click on that fan in live mode, and it goes around. I just thought I'd mention it because it's another one of them objects that I placed down into this build that I'm just so fascinated by. Like someone actually made that. It's just, honestly, what people can do really does blow me away. But in this room, it's basically like a little formal room for the politician sim that is aspiring to become the mayor of Newcrest one day. So in here, I wanted it to be very fancy, or not fancy, but you know, like it's formal. There's no real personalization. There's no like kids toys, or there's no like, you know, it's a little bit more of a formal situation for people to come in and people to have business meetings. I imagine that the members of the sim who is running to be a mayor, the members of their party that is helping them campaign, this is probably like their second house. Like this is probably where they spend the majority of their time. I can just picture a load of different sims sitting all around this sofa, having all their little notepads out, getting their laptops out, doing all the work. And you know, they often probably have like a maid service come in, or someone come in and make them drinks, and maybe the nanny would often, you know, offer them like a cup of tea or something. But in here, the sofas that I've used are from the Organic set, again, the Organic collaboration by Hey Harry and Felix Andre. They are sectional sofas, so basically you can make these as big or as little as what you want. You know the Dream Home Decorator game pack? You know the sofas that we got in that? Basically the exact same, but CC version. Now, I've got a few different sectional CC sofas in my game currently, but for some reason I always just go towards these ones. It's like, you know, you've got them things in the catalogue that you know and that you love and you put in pretty much every single house. Like you might have a certain particular plant that you put in every single bedroom, or you might have a particular, I don't know, side table or a particular bed, or whatever it is. I feel like with a CC build, I feel like it's not a CC build of mine if I don't use these sofas. I just love them so much. And the thing is as well, they also come with little separate cushions and pillows. Now, I have already got separate CC cushions and pillows from different creators, from like different packs, or like something that I've downloaded individually. But something that I really like about these ones is when you pull them out of the catalogue, where they were made to fit this sofa, they're already at the sofa height. Because sometimes when you want to customise a bed or a sofa or an armchair, whatever, and you pull out a cushion, 9 times out of 10 it's going to go onto the floor, which is fine, but sometimes it saves a little bit of hassle rather than having to move it up with a red shelf or use a tool mod and elevate it ever so slightly to get it to clip to the sofa's height. Whereas the ones that I've used on the sofa were quite literally made for the sofa. So that is the big square one and then the little rectangular one. I think I also used one with a tassel, which the tassel one is from Felix Andre themselves. I don't think that was in a collaboration. I just think that was one of their things, like one of their projects that they did by themselves. But yeah, I love a good sectional sofa in The Sims 4. But as you can see, I just finished up the little back corner of that room. Now, something that I wanted to point out is you would have noticed I placed down this little storage box onto the side table. Now, I was thinking, you know, in pretty much every single film or TV show, but more so film, whenever people are having really serious meetings, no matter what it will be about, and you have like some gentlemen like in suits drinking whiskey and stuff, and normally there'll be like a little cigar box. I was thinking that box on the side table could possibly be somewhere where maybe this parent like stores all their cigars. I'm pretty sure off memory that box is something that you can put things in anyway. So you know, we've got, say for instance, like a cardboard box from Eco Lifestyle or from Base Game. We've got some chests that you can put into your Sim's house, wherever it may be, and then you can open it and basically use it as a second inventory. I'm pretty sure that little box works the same way as that. But yeah, when I placed it down, I thought it'd be like a nice little touch because it's directly next to the little bar cart as well. I don't know if you noticed, I placed down a bar cart. I didn't want there to be like a full-on bar because I you know, this room, or that room, because I've now moved on, but that room is meant to be like a business meeting room. I don't imagine that they hire bartenders, but I thought it would be nice to have a little bar cart in the corner, so you know, maybe the end of when they've come to a discussion, or maybe when they've come to some kind of finalisation, they could celebrate, have a drink or two. And so there's a little bar cart in the corner, which again is an item from Ravishing. Honestly, I use that so much in my personal household, because in my household that I play with off camera, the one, I mean, I say that I don't record any of my gameplay, but in my current household I use that, and it's honestly, it's so, I feel like it's such a key thing, because in The Sims 4 we don't really have, actually I say we don't have any bars that are one tile big. We have that vintage glamour globe, but with that globe it's only got 4 different variations of drinks that your Sims can make, whereas it hasn't got all the different options to have like a sweet and sour, or I can't think of any other the other drinks off the top of my head, but you know, all the different types of drinks recipes that you can have in the game. With the vintage glamour globe you can only have 4 certain types of drink, and that singular bar cart, honestly, I use it all the time in my current household. It's really handy for like birthday parties or something like that. But anyway, as you can see, I've now moved on, and I've now moved to the upstairs portion of this house. I just quickly did one of the bathrooms. Now, like I said, there is 6 bathrooms in total in this house. One of them is the laundry room, which I've already shown. And then I was going to keep in the furnishing of the bathroom for the parents, but then I say parents, to be honest, one of the parents isn't here 9 times out of 10. But I was going to show the furnishing for 2 of the bathrooms, but with the video being so long as it is, I decided to just cut it out and just show you the furnishing for one. But I did try and decorate each bathroom quite different to one another. So the one that you would have just seen is the bathroom that is shared between the toddler and the child. Well, I say that, but I mean like they've all got the same floor tiles and they've all got the same wallpaper. But in terms of the decoration, where I'm using CC and I've literally got endless amounts of it, I tried to use like different soap bottles and different shampoo bottles, and I just tried to have a little bit of variation in the clutter. But yeah, I only show the furnishing for one of the bathrooms, but the teenager has their own ensuite, and then the parents' room, they don't have an ensuite, but basically the way that I've done the floor plan, when you walk up the stairs you can either go through a hallway on the right or a hallway on the left. If you go to the left, this is when you get to this area, and it's got basically like the children's rooms and then some of the bathrooms. But if you go the opposite direction, then you have the parents' bedroom, and then they have their bathroom. There's not a door attached onto their room, but it's in their kind of like their area of the house. I don't imagine that the children use that bathroom. But anyway, as you can see, getting on, I'm now furnishing the first child's room, or like first infant's room. I don't know why I said it like that, but this is the toddler's room. So in here, it ended up being so cutesy. I don't know what it's called, but that thing that's hanging from the ceiling, I believe that is from the Tiny Travellers set by Hey Harry and Felix Andre. And then I put a little teddy bear inside of it, and then they've also got a CC doll's house, which is just adorable. I placed that into that room. The rug, the bed, and then I'm thinking the majority of the artwork in that room is from Charlie Pancakes. They have a CC set which is called Small, but it's SMOL, and it's for like toddlers and children, and they've got so many. I've spoken about this before when I've done CC builds, because I always use them both in CC builds and in my own personal like gameplay, their own households. But they've got so many CC paintings of like lions and koalas and meerkats and all these different animals, and they're just so perfect for children and toddlers rooms. But in there as well, there ends up being an item which I can't think of what it's called, but I recently bought one for my nephew, funny enough. It's where you like it's where toddlers like kind of like stack these kind of like rings. That is a CC gameplay item which I placed down into that room. And then there is also some other like building blocks and some like teddy bears, and I tried to make it feel as cutesy as possible. And then behind the thing that hangs off the ceiling, I tried to put loads of different cushions to make it feel like a really comfortable toddler's room. But anyway, as you can see, I've now moved on into the next room, which is the child's bedroom. So in here I decided to go for the country set, I believe it's called, which is from Hey Harry, and that is the bed and then the matching 3 long chest of drawers. I've got a few of them 3 long chest of drawers in my game. They look like side tables, and I actually did put one into the hallway, which you won't see me do because the video was so long. I decided to cut out the hallway, but there will be screenshots of it at the end. And by the way, you know when I said I've got 113 screenshots, don't worry, I'm not going to include every single screenshot because that is it's a bit too much. But I will show the screenshots of the hallway, and you might be able to see it as well when we move on into the parents' room, because it's kind of like in that direction. You might be able to see it then. But yeah, that 3 long table in this room is actually just a chest of drawers, and then on top of it I cluttered it with loads of different like toys, and like there's a whale, and then one of the things I placed onto it was these individual Polaroids, which they're just a Polaroid that you can pull out and then you can change the swatches of them, which I just thought was so cute. I was imagining that maybe this child got like a Polaroid camera for like their 13th birthday or something, and they were just playing around with it and experimenting with it. And then in this room as well, there is a little desk area. On top of that I placed down like some books and like a teddy bear, and then some like flowers. And then over here there is a little chef station, which I get my current household to use this all the time, and it's actually, fun fact, what inspired my current house's like future storyline. Because basically, I'm going to go a little bit off subject here, but my current household, the child played with this when they were growing up, and then because of it they kind of found this love for cooking. And so now the direction that I'm taking my current household gameplay in is they're going to grow up and they're going to own their own restaurant one day. And I wouldn't have thought of that direction of gameplay if it wasn't for that little chef station. But children will literally stand there with a little chef hat on and they'll make all these things, and it's just adorable. It's like one of them key things now that I can't play the game without, because it does really have an impact on your gameplay. And the fact that it's a bit of CC that your Sims can interact with as well, and it's not even like a bit of CC that is like another animation. Ravishing, who is the person that created it, they have made this custom animation and it's just mind-blowing. But anyway, in that room as well there ends up being a little drawing table. The one that I've used is from the Tiny Travelers set. You know, the Jungle Adventure game pack, you know when your Sims can find all these like clumps of mud and they can basically like uncover it? Well, the drawing table from the Tiny Travelers set is basically like a smaller version of that, but they made it into a drawing table. I placed that into that room as well, and then I also just finished it off with some teddy bears, and then there's like a rug on the floor. I also placed down these little monster slippers as well, which I thought was so fitting for a child, because I don't know if you've noticed, throughout the build, in like certain seating areas, I'll place down like a blanket, or I'll place down some glasses, or I'll place down some slippers, but then there is some like childlike slippers that I've got in my game as well. I placed them at the end of the bed because I just thought it was a nice little touch. But anyway, now moving on, you can see that I've now started furnishing the next bedroom, which ends up being the bedroom for the teenager. Now, like I've already mentioned, I imagine that this teenager is identical personality wise to the parent that wants to one day run to be the mayor of Newcrest. I say that, to be honest, I imagine that they're just a really, really well-rounded Sim in terms of they know what they want, they're very ambitious in their life, they are just a straight A student in school. There is never a day where they get like a B or something. And I imagine if they ever get like an A minus in school, it'll be like a life or death situation for them. I imagine that they're just so focused on their schoolwork and they're so focused on getting the best grades that they can possible to one day be able to go to the University of Rochester. I imagine that they don't actually get to spend as much time as they would like to be a teenager and do like more teenagery things. When I say that, I mean like, you know how you sometimes get teenagers to go to like a milkshake shop, or get your teenagers and all their mates to go to the movies together or something like that. I don't imagine they get that much spare time to do them kind of things. I imagine that every single second that they've got to themselves, they're either campaigning for their parent, or they're working on some extracurricular activities, or if they're not doing that, they're just doing something towards their future. They're very driven in that sense. I was thinking that they might possibly want to one day grow up and also become like a politician like their parent, but then I was also thinking that maybe they could go into the law career that we've got from, I think it was Discover University that we got the law career. One of them kind of jobs. I imagine that they're a very serious kind of Sim, and so I feel like that would suit them quite well. But in here, as you can see, I tried to keep the decorations in terms of being able to recognise that it's a teenager's room to a minimum. Now, I imagine that this Sim is so mature for their age that they don't really want loads of different posters stuck on their walls. They don't want like sellotape marks or blue tack marks and stuff like that. And so the stuff that they have got, they've got a few Polaroids next to their mirror, which I was imagining is maybe like them and their mates, or like them and their partner, and then there is also some photo frames in the wall. But I try to do it so like it's quite elegant in there, because like I said, I imagine this teenagers to be wearing like a little black dress with pearls all the time. They always have their nails done. They're just very high maintenance, and also a very well kept Sim, and I hope that I reflected their bedroom onto that, because that was literally how I was seeing them. But anyway, as you can see, I've now moved on into the next room, which isn't a bedroom. This is the walk-in wardrobe. So you can see that we're already started to play around with this kind of like wardrobe functioning piece thing that I've got going on. So basically, Charlie created loads of these different wardrobe pieces, and you can kind of mix and match them depending on how you want your Sims wardrobes to be. So you can see that I've used one kind of like corner piece that wraps around the wall, and it's got a closed rail in it, and then on top and then the bottom there's kind of like storage space, and then there's also another wardrobe piece which is next to it, and this one I selected it to be kind of like a shoe rack. But there's so many other variations of this wardrobe, so if you wanted to, you could have like another closed rail piece, or you could have like a bigger distance between the shelves. It's literally so customizable and so personalized, and it is one of the smartest things ever, I think. But in here you can see they've already started placing down loads of different shoes and clothes, and just things to really make it feel like a wardrobe. Now I use the majority of the lavish clothes set, but then I've also got different pieces of CC that are also clothes that you can put into these type of wardrobes as well, because I wanted there to be some variation between all the different clothes that are hanging up, because I wanted there to be, you know, some different kinds of dresses. You got a few different summer dresses in the corner, you got a few like more formal evening dresses, then you also got your casual clothes as well. I just wanted there to be some variation, so I used a mixture of different CC clothes, and then the same goes for the shoes. So I've used some like wellies on the top, and then the side underneath that is like more boots. Then underneath that I wanted it to be like a trainer section, and then underneath that I wanted it to be like heels and stuff, like how I feel like you would organise a wardrobe if you had like a wardrobe feature like this. And then on some of the shelving units I placed down like shoe boxes and then some storage bins. I'm pretty sure I also placed down some like suitcases that I imagine when the parent that goes to hospital, or like I say goes to the hospital, when the parent that works in the hospital, when they're packing up their suitcase to go to their apartment in San Myshuno for like a few days, they would probably use these suitcases and kind of like pack their clothes into them. I also placed some little hats onto some of the shelves as well. You can just about see in the bottom corner next to the fireplace, I placed down some like jewellery stands and like a jewellery box and like a watch box. I did try and find a home for them. I only ended up finding a home for the little watch box because it was a bit of a smaller clutter piece, but there is some jewellery in some of the CC packs that will be linked in this like little Google Doc thing that I've got going on. So if you do want to download it, then I mean you can download all of this, it will all be linked in the description box. But I really wanted to use the jewellery box, but I just couldn't find the right place for it, and I didn't want to remove any of the shoe boxes. And I feel like if you've got all of your jewellery in a jewellery box, it's not going to be on a shelving unit within your wardrobe underneath your clothes. I feel like it'll be in a more dramatic place, if you get what I mean. But in here, as you can see, I'm just going around and finishing it up. It ends up being one of them lounge chairs in the corner. It is the same like sofa set that is for the downstairs. You know how I was talking about the organic set and the sectional sofa pieces? They also come in them long lounge chairs, and so I decided to place one of them down into the dressing room. I was thinking that maybe when the sim that is in the hospital career the sim that's a surgeon, when they're home and they're like changing their clothes or something, I was thinking that maybe the teenager pops into the dressing room and, you know, updates them on their life, tells them what's going on, because they don't really get to see them that often. And so I imagine that maybe that's a room that they have their like little catch-ups in or whatever. But now, as you can see, I've now moved on into the last space in this house, which is the master bedroom. So in here I decided to use this bed, which is from Felix Andre, and then the bed actual mattress itself is also from them as well. And then I just put a rug down, I put this little ottoman, and then you see that I'm just about to go in and clutter up loads of different pillows and blankets and just make it feel a little bit more homey. And then I'm just going to go around this room and finish it off. I end up adding, I think, a wardrobe and then some like little baskets and then maybe a plant or two, and then that is basically it. So anyway guys, I'm going to end this voiceover right here. So as always, you can download this build via the gallery. My origin ID is JessicapieYT, or you should search for the hashtag JessicapieYT or just the hashtag Jessicapie. Now, as this is a custom content build, you'll have to make sure that you have the enabled CC tab enabled on the gallery. Otherwise, if you go looking for it, then it will not show up. But apart from that, thank you all so much for watching. As always, thank you especially if you made it all the way to the end. And as always, if you do like my content, then please do subscribe. And hopefully I will see you in my next Sims 4 speedboarding video. Bye guys.